Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Indian Standard Time. I'm in the heart of Asia. Some would say I'm on the roof of the world, where the Hindu Kush mountains end and the Karakoram range begins, and the Pamir mountains are within sniffing distance. This is the confluence of Central Asia and South Asia, and I'm in a country which has been intimately associated with India over the centuries, and which over the last several years has literally been fighting to emerge from a conflict zone and take its normal place in the Comity of Nations. I'm in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, and in conversation with its inimitable president, Hamid Karzai. Mr. President, thank you so much for talking to Rajya Sabha TV. I'd like to start by asking you, Mr. President, this is the end of a long era for you, in a sense. You've been president of Afghanistan for 10 long years. A new election is looming large upon your country. Tell me, how do you feel? Do you think of it as the end of an era?
In a sense, yes. In another sense, no.
Okay.
It is the end of an era in the sense of a beginning. That was 2001, where Afghanistan and the rest of the world joined hands to free this country and, by extension, the rest of the world of terrorism and extremism, in which we all succeeded initially.
Initially, you say initially?
Initially, in the beginning, and established the new order in Afghanistan that run very well and nice in certain areas, that faced bumps and roadblocks in other areas. Now that era, the decade that we put behind us, is coming to a fruitful end for the elections that we have. Having a new president, having a new administration will begin a new trend in this era to a better future, I hope.
But when you say that the world and Afghanistan at the center of it was eliminating terrorism and that you were succeeding in doing that initially, are you saying that you haven't been able to do that and that job is not yet over?
Definitely not.
Why not?
Definitely not. We joined the world, which at that time was represented by the United States and its NATO allies and some ISAF countries. But the majority of the world was of the same opinion and in approval. That initial approval brought us immense success, on which we are building
a new country,
our tomorrow, our future, not only for us but for the rest of us in this region. As we moved along, the war on terror was not conducted where it should have been conducted.
And where should it have been conducted?
It should have been conducted where terrorism was nurtured, where terrorism was supported, where terrorism had its ideological grounds, where terrorism was financed. And that wasn't Afghanistan. That was beyond Afghanistan's border. That was in Pakistan. That's where the international community failed. Rather than going to eliminate terrorism, I don't mean now here by fighting necessarily. No, by cutting short the channels to it, the means to it, the support system to it.
The source, the
root.
The
source of it, the roots of it. They concentrated on turning Afghan villages into the battlefield. As we moved on, the war on terror was turned into an insurgency by the Western countries led by the United States. So if it is an insurgency, it becomes a local Afghan issue. Then it is for the Afghan people to try to resolve it and address it.
So are you saying that the American troops and the NATO troops and the other countries that sent their troops to Afghanistan were trying to eliminate terror throughout the Taliban after 9/11, but that turned into an insurgency, and that now it's between the Americans and the people of Afghanistan and the people here?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm trying to define it in our terms, from Afghan perspective.
Okay.
From the Afghan perspective, if the Americans and NATO are here to fight terrorism,
Yes.
then they have told us, the Afghan people, they have also told the world repeatedly, that the sanctuaries are outside Afghanistan, that the motivational factors are provided to terrorists outside of Afghanistan, that radicalism is used as a tool, as a policy outside of Afghanistan.
So,
therefore,
where are all these places? Have they said?
Therefore, I'm saying, which I have been saying for the past so many years now, that this war is not and cannot be in Afghanistan, in Afghan villages, in Afghan homes, or in conducting military operations against Afghan civilians. That this war has to be taken not necessarily through the means of military pursuit to where the sanctuaries are, to where the training grounds are, and they have told us repeatedly, the international community led by America, meaning Europe and America and NATO, that is Pakistan.
And they have said that. They have said it's Pakistan.
Repeatedly they've told us.
Okay.
Now, we all know that Pakistan too is suffering from the same menace of terrorism.
Absolutely.
As we are suffering in Afghanistan, as you are suffering to an extent, luckily much less, in India. Yes. But you do still suffer. Therefore, from another point of view, it is also for us and Pakistan and India to sit down and to talk to one another and to see reason beyond radicalism and to address it as we see fit for our societies.
But Mr. President, just a couple of days ago here in Kabul, you hosted the presidents of Pakistan, of Iran, of Tajikistan, and all these people were sitting around you around the same table. I'm sure the president of Pakistan, Mr. Mamnoon Hussain, I'm sure you said these things to him too.
We did.
Did you say to him that the roots of terror are emanating from his country?
We have had this conversation in a detailed, expanded manner with President Musharraf, President Zardari, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in great detail.
Okay.
And I'm glad to note that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mia Nawaz Sharif, understands this and is very much, as far as the problem is concerned, the recognition of the problem is concerned, is with us and understands the situation. Somehow or the other, we fail to work together to address it.
Okay, Mr. President, just hold your thought for 1 second, and I'm going to take a very quick break. We'll be back very soon. I'm going to take a very quick break. Welcome back. You're watching a very special edition of Indian Standard Time, and I'm in conversation with the President of Afghanistan, Mr. Hamid Karzai. President Karzai, just before the break, you were telling me how you've spoken to a variety of leaders of Pakistan, from President Musharraf to the current Prime Minister, Mia Nawaz Sharif. They are in agreement with you that there are several terror groups inside Pakistan. Do they also admit that there are sanctuaries of these terror groups inside Pakistan?
Well, in a way, yes. They admit to the existence of the problem because that existence cannot be denied anymore. Look at the mayhem the terrorists cause in Pakistan itself.
So what do they say? Do they admit that there is a Quetta Shura, a Miram Shah Shura, a Peshawar Shura?
Those things are clear, visible enough, not in need of being admitted. So we all know. But we do talk about no more about whether these sanctuaries exist or whether various elements of the radicals and the terrorists are functioning in Pakistan or in the borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan. No, we have gone beyond that. We are now discussing on how to address the problem, on how to eradicate radicalism, and on what are the factors that are taking our abilities away from us in addressing these issues. That's where we are, and I hope that the future government in Afghanistan and in Pakistan, and hopefully also in India, will take this dialogue further.
Mr. President, last week when there was an attack in the Serena Hotel right here in Kabul, and unfortunately some people died, a journalist in fact, and two of his children, Mr. Sardar Ahmed. At the time, after this incident, you said that the ISI was responsible for this attack.
The Afghan intelligence believes that. I spoke twice to our intelligence agency that day when the announcement was to come, to ask if they were certain about this. They said yes. And yesterday I had talk with a very capable Western intelligence agency. Someone came to see me and I asked this question whether they had any information. I was told that it was Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is clearly linked to the establishment in Pakistan.
I see. So the Western intelligence agency, which means that the Western governments, America, is conceding that the Lashkar-e-Taiba
conducted the operation in Serena Hotel, and that they are trying to establish a foothold in Afghanistan.
And are they a front for the ISI, the Pakistan Intelligence Agency?
I hope they are not, but that's what we hear.
And have you also, so do these Western intelligence agencies, do the Americans, do they talk to the Pakistanis about this?
Well, we do ask these questions as well, and we do ask if they are talking to them about this. They said yes, they are talking to them about this.
But clearly, nothing much seems to have happened, Mr. President.
That exactly is the problem. That's why I said in the beginning of the interview that initially we succeeded. Subsequent to that, in the past 10 years, 9 years, it's all a foggy mystery as to why we can't succeed in eradicating radicalism.
And what about the Pakistani civilian leadership, Mian Nawaz Sharif, before him Asif Ali Zardari? Do they understand that this is happening?
They certainly understand this. They certainly know what has happened. They definitely are pained by the consequences of that inside Pakistan as well. And this is where we have a common ground between myself and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and definitely also between Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and the Indian leaders.
So the Prime Minister of Pakistan, sorry.
I know, ma'am, that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif wants to do things differently, meaning he wants to improve relations with India, meaning he wants to improve relations with Afghanistan. He wants to find ways of addressing this grave difficulty. The tools perhaps are not there to use and address the problem.
But in this Serena Hotel attack, you say that the Lashkar-e-Taiba was responsible. But this,
I was told by a Western intelligence agency yesterday that it was the Lashkar-e-Taiba, yes.
Okay. Now, there are several other attacks that take place in which the Taliban are involved, the Afghan Taliban are involved.
Yes.
Now, I'm asking you, you've said for some time that you will not sign the bilateral security agreement with the Americans because you want to make peace, and that your condition is a peace process must be started. What does that mean?
This means that I am asking the United States to address the issue properly and effectively. That they cannot forever keep going around Afghan villages and towns and homes, bombarding civilians, arresting people, causing hurt to our society, and not addressing the root cause of the issue or of the problem beyond our borders. Now, the United States can do two things. One, bring peace to Afghanistan by giving an end to their operations in Afghanistan, or by clearly, visibly addressing the problem which is beyond Afghanistan.
Okay.
In other words, I will not sign the BSA with the business as usual attitude of the United States. No.
All right. So when you say you want a peace process started, are you saying that you would like to start a peace process with the Taliban?
Yes, with the Afghan Taliban.
With the Afghan Taliban.
Those who are Afghans, those who I know for sure, certainly,
Okay.
that are seeking peace and return back to their homes.
And
That's what I'm
are these
seeking.
your Afghan brothers?
They are my Afghan brothers, yes. They are Afghans, they're from Afghanistan, they're Afghan nationals. Circumstances have forced them to go and take a gun against their own country, against their own people. I want to remove those circumstances. I want to bring them back to their country, and I want to address the terrorist problem, the radicalist problem in a different way, which is beyond Afghanistan, which has not originated from Afghanistan, which is not nurtured in Afghanistan.
So these Afghan brothers who have picked up the gun, for example, and who've been committing attacks all over your country, including in Kabul, are you saying that when you start talking to them, or you have already made overtures towards them?
We have already spoken to them.
Yeah. And
We have already spoken to them.
okay.
They tell us that individually, they all tell us that they want peace and they want to return to their homes. Collectively, they are not able to do it. So there is some other power, some other entity that is preventing a collective action by the Taliban.
And they are willing to abide by the red lines, which is that they're willing to abide by the Afghan constitution, no rights violations, no human rights violations against...
They have told us
Yeah.
repeatedly, personally to me, through their representatives, and to our High Peace Council representatives, that they want to sit down and talk to us. They are even willing to sit down and talk to us in Afghanistan. That once they sit down and talk, that the constitution is mainly an Islamic constitution, that they don't have a problem with the main provisions of the constitution,
Right.
that they may seek changes to the form of government, which is allowed in the constitution.
Meaning not necessarily a presidential form.
Not necessarily a presidential form of government, though some of them agree to a presidential form of government, some of them insist on a presidential form of government, but others may seek, for other reasons, a different system, which I don't know the details of.
Okay.
But that the mainstay of the constitution is not contested.
Rights of women?
Certainly, within the cultural and religious environment of the country, yes. I don't see, ma'am, the constitution as a problem for the Taliban. I see a foreign control over the movement as a preventive element of the launch of the peace process, rather than the constitution, rather than the situations inside Afghanistan.
Mr. President, hold your thought.
All right.
I'm going to take a very quick break.
Okay.
We'll be back very soon. Please don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching a very special edition of Indian Standard Time, and I'm in conversation with the President of Afghanistan, Mr. Hamid Karzai. So before the break, you were talking about how you believe that the groups of Taliban that you've been in touch with believe that they will abide by the Afghan constitution.
That they don't have a problem with the mainstay of the constitution.
Of the constitution. There will be that, sort of one man or one woman, one vote.
Surely, that we will not give up.
And they will not be treated like the people were during the several years that the Taliban...
And we will not allow that.
So how are you so sure, President? I know that a presidential election is going to take place in a few days' time. Are you worried that this country, that your country, could perhaps, if not disintegrate, but be much more affected? Could it become a civil war type of situation as there was earlier in the mid-90s?
No. Those days are gone.
How are you so confident?
I'm confident because I've seen it gone. Those days are gone. We have a constitution. We have national institutions. We are a strongly united country. Look at the campaigns for the elections. All over the country.
It's been quite incredible watching these thousands of people coming to attend the rallies of all the presidential
for the elections. Look at the campaigns for the elections. It doesn't look, when you look at the rallies, that this is a country affected sadly by terrorism.
That's a great thing. That's a
great
huge
thing.
achievement.
A huge, huge achievement.
Yeah.
Look at the education. Today, we have 11.5 million children in school. 10 years ago, we had less than 700,000.
And lots of girl students.
And today, 40% of those 11.5 million are girls. 22% of our civil services are women. Media, the economy, the society.
So the people of Afghanistan are not going to be willing to give all these incredible achievements up.
Not at all. Just as we want peace, just as we are seeking peace, just as we are working earnestly for peace and are willing to give sacrifices for it, we are not going to give up on our liberties, on our democracy, on our elections, on the rights of our women to participate in Afghan life.
But Mr. President, there are 350,000 about Afghan security forces that have been trained by the Americans, by the other NATO forces, a few in India, but not that many. Now, are you saying to me that if there is no bilateral security agreement with the United States, even if some of the other presidential candidates don't seem to have a problem with it?
Yeah, they don't. All of them are fine with it.
Okay. Now, if there is no bilateral security agreement, which means that all the American troops and the NATO troops, sure, this is a worst case scenario. When these people leave, are you saying that 352,000 Afghan security forces will be able to protect the country from the Taliban, from terror attacks?
Well, that's a large force. Look, ma'am, Afghanistan is the country for Afghans.
Yeah.
We must provide for it. We must protect it. It's our country. Whether Afghanistan will be able to sustain such a large force is the question of our economy.
Absolutely.
And the question of continued assistance by the international community, which we are seeking, which we are not repelling, no, which we are seeking. When I say I don't want to sign the BSA with the United States, I don't mean that I don't want their help or other help. I mean that I want to sign this only when I'm sure that my country will, after the signing, be doing better than what it is doing today.
Okay, so you're willing to
So it's a condition for the betterment, not a rejection.
Certainly you're an honorable Afghan, you're the first citizen, but when you say that you would like to take the help, the help of the Americans, in what way?
In ways that they can provide to us. Till we are on our feet. We've been seeking India's help. India's training and educating thousands of Afghan boys and girls there. We want to be able to reach a place from where we can find our own bread and butter. And for that journey, the help that comes from outside is welcome. But that help must be meaningful and must be help.
So if the Americans offer financial help to support the few thousand troops that they leave behind, and in the few bases that they leave behind, 9 bases, is it?
9 bases they want in Afghanistan. We know which bases they are.
And are you okay with that?
We are okay with that, but the American presence in Afghanistan must bring peace to Afghanistan and stability to Afghanistan.
Do you feel that India should have perhaps been much more giving in terms of, say, equipment for the Afghan armed forces?
Well, India has done remarkably well in terms of providing civilian assistance, in terms of providing reconstruction assistance, in terms of spending the money that India allocated to Afghanistan precisely and with the value it had.
Okay.
Now, India is a little shy in providing us military assistance, and we know the circumstances, the reasons.
Do you think India should be shy?
India should not be shy, no.
I have a last couple of questions, Mr. President. I know you have to go, the time is up already, but Can I just bring and ask you, Afghanistan's amazing geographical location at the crossroads of Central Asia and South Asia. Do you think that trade and investment could be the answer, in a sense, of Afghanistan sort of helping to emerge from this conflict zone?
Well, we are societies of massive potential, human resources, unparalleled in the world, all the three countries and the rest of us around here. Natural resources, the beauty of nature. Look at the Himalayas. It's unbelievable. It's nature itself there in all its beauty. What is hurting us is bad politics. A definition of national interest that's narrow and misleading. If I were to determine the politics of this region, I would look at the three countries as one entity with one interest. So I would ask Pakistan, open up the roads, free the borders, allow trade. Pakistan would flourish immediately towards India. India would flourish immediately towards Pakistan. And
the election is going to take place very soon. We've talked about your incredible role in the last 10 years in Afghanistan. Are you going to withdraw from active politics and have much more time for your children?
I will. I will be just in 1 or 2 months' time an ex-president. Luckily, the government is building a home for me just nearby here. You can see it from this place. And I'll have more time with my children. I'll have the freedom to travel around the country and also visit India more often and for an extended period.
And congratulations so much on your baby girl, baby Nazo.
Thank you.
I'm afraid we have to leave it there. I've been in conversation with the President of Afghanistan, Mr. Hamid Karzai. Next week, we will have another global thinker or leader. Till then, goodbye and good luck.